This episode of Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, head on over to www.audible.com/Gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello and welcome to Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet. I am obviously not Gary Gannon, but this is episode 32 of the show. We've got your normal hosts, and first up, Stefan Frost answers all the questions. We've finally got a Stalker Livestream, and we've got our first look at Arena. But first, you know them, you love them, Mr. Farhan Siddiqui. How are you, sir?
Good, good. How are you doing? It's nice to finally talk to you.
I know, right? It's like I'm a big fan of the show. So Gary said, "Hey, can you do the show tonight? If you're waiting for Gary, he'll be back next week. Don't worry about it. I know I'm not as good looking. I understand that. That's all right. Big fan. I love you guys. I watch the show every week, and like you guys crunch the numbers and shit I don't even understand. It's amazing." Also from Guild Umbra, Mr. Mark Taylor.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yeah.
We got a bunch of guildies actually in chat, so I'm excited. We got folks in Belgium, folks in Australia hanging out. International, baby.
It's like all worldwide and stuff. What is going on here? Let's get right to it, because I know you have a hard stop here, Mark. So, Mr. Frost answered a bunch of questions from the community over at MMORPG.com. Now, first up, he got to the names piece, which a lot of people were asking about. No last names. You can do the capitals and you can use the numbers, but spaces are out. Big deal? No deal? What's up?
I could care less. I really could. It just doesn't matter to me.
It's just,
I think that the fact that they're allowing numbers and capitalization, I don't think that capitalization actually matters in terms of exclusivity. Like if I have a capital A in the middle of my name, I don't know why I would have an A in the middle of Unindel, but let's say a capital N in the middle of Unindel. I don't think that is going to be, exclusive from somebody who had it all lowercase or whatever. But at least in game, if you can capitalize stuff as you wish, and it'll show up exactly like that for everyone else. So I think that having that is enough. That you can sort of pseudo have a last name by just putting a capital in the middle of it.
I mean, then I'm that jerk that has small x, big X, name, big X, small x, because Sephiroth was taken by 900 other people, so I can't do that. I don't know. That doesn't make a big deal to me. Mark, you guys, all worldwide, you want the spaces? Is it important?
I really could care less personally.
So nobody gives a damn.
Because see, a lot of MMOs don't have it. Some of them do. Actually, I'd say a good amount of them do, but a large amount of them don't, right? But what's more important, just like Fon said, is like say for the robot race, the Makari, you can have like all uppercase letters, and you can have which I've not seen it in anything other than like really really old school back in the day when you could have like leet speak names and stuff like that you really kind of see in FPS games, right? That's really the only place that still allows that kind of stuff, right?
No, I don't want that stuff. Damn it. So what do you think the reason is? I mean, a space, is this just a programming thing or just a restriction they don't feel like dealing with?
I think it comes down to just trying to get a game out and have one less thing to deal with from a database perspective. I'm not a programmer. I know you guys are, but I'm just going to say from that perspective, I think it just limits the database of names and just makes it a lot more simple to try to figure out who did what when X, Y, and Z name gets reported, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably something that was just like a programming decision that was made pretty early on, and then at some point, just to make like commands, like text commands, a little bit easier to parse. Basically, like you don't, if you put a space in the middle of the name, then is that like a second argument to a function or whatever, or is it one? And then it's not enough of a priority to go back and change that.
Like, we are not going back and putting in spaces. Forget it. Another big no when it came to body customization. This was probably one of the top stories on Gamebreaker when it went up. And I'm pretty sure we know why it came up. Yes. There it is.
The nerfing of the boobs?
the boobs got the nerf bat. So picture kind of gives you an idea. It was a controversial change from the latest beta build. Reduction in breast size for both the humans and the Aura. Now, were there a lot of complaints, actually, about the character models as a whole? Not just the boob thing, but character models across the board?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I think Carbine has a better idea of the actual metrics in terms of proportions, like how many people, or was it just like a vocal minority or whatever? But I think basically, it was enough people that Carbine went back and sort of looked at a lot of the things and said, okay, given our limited resources, what can we actually change to make people happier in general? I mean, this is just sort of part of what Carbine's thing is, right? That they want to show that they're listening. They want to show that, if they can do something to help, whatever portion of the community that was being offended or didn't like the way it was, then they said, okay, this is something that we can do reasonably with our limited resources to, change that. And yeah, okay, that pisses some other people off, but I think that they're more okay with pissing off the even more vocal minority that would be annoyed at them for making this change than they would be for the people who might have been offended with the, let's face it, balloon-sized breasts before. Anyway.
All I can say is this is complete bullshit.
Thank you! Thank you! I'm so glad you said it, Mark.
This is complete and total fucking bullshit because of a bunch of peers, and I guarantee you it was the effeminate and possibly, the non-heterosexual group of the our peers that complained, and maybe some ladies who were just out of touch, but it's complete bullshit. If you don't want tiggle bitties, then scale the scale back, but don't make guys who want to not look at a dude's butt while they're playing a game not have the ability to big boobs. I mean, why does it matter? It didn't.
Are we going to see a boob slider?
It was.
I think that's the thing, though, is that, Carbine looked at it, and from a resource perspective, what they're saying is that, after launch, maybe they'll see about if they have the resources to actually add in body sliders and that kind of thing later on. Just generally speaking, not just for boobs, but for like anything from height to other stuff. That's just not something that they have the resources to do now. And like I've said before, I think that it makes sense that if they do think that they would be able to put in a slider later on, that have the default size be a little bit more reasonable.
All right, hold on, because Mark is gonna flip his lid over the boobies. Hold on. So we had that survey. I saw you guys talk about it a while ago that showed the game was like trending in a 90% male demographic. Pretty big demographic. Now, everything I read on the forums, yes, Mark, there were those couple of posts that were like, this is ridiculous, it's over-sexualized, blah, 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 blah. The usual hype you see with over-sexualized females in games. Terra, whatever, pick a game. But I don't think that was the only complaint, though. It was the general animations and the bodies themselves were just kind of weird-looking across the board, weren't they? Not just a big boob problem, but a weird-looking character problem.
It's because it's a cartoonish looking game. I've met the guy who came up with the art direction, who's the lead designer of the game. Really nice guy. The game looks like a cartoon. And if you want to look at where it comes from, go look at the game from Lucas Game or LucasArts back when there was such a thing, owned by Lucas, called Armed and Dangerous. If you look at that game, Armed and Dangerous, you will see where the Makari come from. You will see where the Stalker comes from. You will see where the comes from. You see where a lot of its humor comes. Say it's from Dragon Age and a bunch of other things. All you got to look at interest that game, and you will see where most of the art, inspiration, and comedy came from, in my opinion. But
yeah, but even the animations look kind of wonky. Come on.
But that's because they made it so cartoonish, right? I mean, you look at Final Fantasy, which I love to make fun of because of the questing style, had beautiful art.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's the greatest game ever made.
I like a lot about that game, you know, but I don't like everything. But I liked a lot about that game. I think they brought a lot to the space. But long story short, you could change a lot. But you know, so long story short, it's part and parcel because of the art style that they went with. The other part is they didn't use motion capture, which for the, you know, Mythic used to be close to where I used to live. I used to always bust on those guys. Motion capture. If you add motion capture to your character models, it will usually alleviate a lot of these. However, I gotta say, there's no sexual man in history that's ever gonna be like, oh my God, the boobs are because it's ruining my MMO experience. No, that's from, in my opinion, the RPers and not necessarily the hetero versions who really complained about that. Nobody was complaining.
I don't know. There's such a thing as too big, and I'm, you know, I'm married with children, the whole deal. I can look at the female form for hours and hours. Did I just say like I watch porn? Is that what I just admitted to? I could look at the female form for long periods of time, but I'm kind of okay with this change. Let me show you what I mean about like the animation stuff. So this is a video from Vanyan EU, little YouTube. Let me put this up here for you. Take a look at this. Watch this running animation. Yeah, and oh, that's the death. Hold on. Here we go. The running animation. Watch that. What is? Oh God, what is this? Come on. They have to change some of these body types, don't they, Farhan?
The female Makari running animation is sort of. I don't really like it very much either. It's like the one thing that would keep me from playing a female Makari, as opposed to just doing the male one, but. Yeah.
We also we got that was the stealth animation in the live stream too. That looked fantastic, didn't it?
The stealthing animation is also one that I think that they're getting a lot of feedback that is something that they should tweak in some way. I think it wouldn't look as bad if it was sort of like a slower, sort of longer striding kind of thing, just because of with them like sort of wiggling their feet so quickly, it just looks ridiculous. But yeah,
this just in too. Apparently, Chua are genderless.
Yeah,
they are.
I didn't get that vibe. Did you guys? I mean, you guys have ultimately had a lot more experience than I have, but I did not get that vibe. You guys seem like this was no news.
Yeah, well, I mean, so really we knew that they couldn't choose a female gender in the first place. And if you, I mean, to be fair, if you look at like the character customization options, I would say that they are more male focused, just because like you have like facial hair and mustaches and all this other kind of stuff. I don't really see anything that I would scream out like female to me, other than maybe choosing pink skin. Like that's about as female as you, or feminine as you can get. So yeah, I mean, they are genderless, but I would say that they're still definitely sort of leaning towards the more male side.
But here's the deal, you know, Dom, who does the production for a lot of the shows on Gamebreaker here, kind of calling BS on this one. Based on the lore, there are a lot of Chuas referred to as he and him. They have daddies, you know, they have fathers. So there's definitely a very patriarchal vibe going on there.
It's probably, and I'm completely pulling on a thread here, some kind of loose thing going back to like the Hutts, because the Hutts were asexual and they could change their gender as they pleased, back from female to male, depending on how they felt wanted to live. So it's probably something kind of like that.
So this is like a Jurassic Park life finds a way type deal.
Yeah. If you have like a pond full of nothing but male.
They use frog DNA. They change from male to female whenever they need to.
Over time, you'll end up with female frogs.
UDSP, teaching science.
There we go.
Well, so spring release date was kind of everybody's ballparky right now. That question came up again, and the answer was not exactly the most assuring thing in the world. Working on it, it's a pretty big game.
So I'm going to be the first person to say right here and now that I would say late summer or probably the winter time frame for launch now. I can't see it going head to head with ESO, which is coming out on the 4th of April or 4/4/14 kind of stuff. I think that they've got 20 years of lore. They've got hundreds of millions of nerds that have only played single player games, which are going to really make it a very interesting MMO experience.
I don't know
The
who
MMO
you're calling
gamers.
a nerd here, dude. Hold on, let me fix the tape here.
That's a badge of honor on this show. What are you talking about? And so the point is, just going up against that machine, I think will be hard, right? Right, wrong, or indifferent. Let's just say that
delays are
MMO
never really a surprise anyway, especially
exactly.
in MMOs.
Well, let's just say that MMO was like the worst MMO in the world, which I don't think it's going to be. It's going to have so much hype in the hype train that to try to go head to head against it's going to be a losing position. So it'd be smart for them to push off into the summer or even the fall, I think.
Honestly, I don't actually agree entirely. Just because
I'm
mean,
gonna
like, okay,
sit back
so
and watch you two
I'm
fight.
not saying that a delay is impossible. I'm not saying that it's like even unlikely. I'm just saying that I don't think it's because of ESO, and I think that I think that what they would be more worried about would be coming up against Warlords of Draenor, the new WoW expansion. Considering how that game is I'm like 99% sure it's still not in beta, right? Like maybe I might be wrong.
What, Warlords?
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't even started beta yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that this is like that specifically is great news for WildStar, just because it means that people the hardcore raiders will actually have a chance, even if they're like sort of like on the fence about the whole like idea of 40-man raiding. They don't have anything else to even do. So WildStar capitalize on that, go in there and have them actually play your game, and hopefully it's fun enough that it'll actually sort of get to the point where they'll actually still play it anyway. And recently over at WildStar Fans, Airwolf's website, Jeremy Gaffney actually just like popped into his comment section on one of his articles and asked like if he had any questions, and he managed to Airwolf managed to ask him, Mike Joseph, if like what his thoughts were on whether or not they would meet that spring release date. And so they're saying that they're trying right now, but the thing is that the thing that's really for him is whether or not they will actually be able to meet that is they want to actually make sure that end game gets tested, like war plots and raids actually are tested in beta thoroughly before they actually decide for sure on the release date. And so that's what make me think that, okay, they might push it off, is because of that. But it's a much more reassuring thing for me, because it's not like, oh no, it's sounds bad that they think that they might not make the date. It's more like, no, they're definitely making sure that they're going to get that end game tested thoroughly before they actually go through with, making that final call on when the release date will be.
So should we have word on collector's editions and pre-orders sometime soon then? I mean, even both of your timelines kind of puts it anywhere from 4 to 7 months from now.
Right. So
that's usually about the time we can start plunking down money, right?
So what Jeremy Gaffney was saying actually in there, he also, Mike Joseph also asked about pre-orders. And what he basically outlined was that, the release date sort of in their heads will be determined based on endgame testing. And pre-orders is also going to get determined based on when they decide when the release date is, obviously. So all of it sort of hinges on when they get that endgame testing in, which they're saying that they're going to get it to the beta testers in a reasonable amount of time pretty soon. Like both Stephen Frost in this sort of Ask Me Anything kind of thing from MMORPG, and in the comment section, Jeremy Gaffney, they're sort of saying that that testing is coming down the pipe pretty soon. And so at that point, I think that they're going to decide, okay, what can we do with that? And then they'll figure out the pre-orders at that point. So I would actually expect the pre-order announcement to actually be coming somewhat soon. So
Fishing also confirmed, Mr. Taylor. I know you're a fan.
Hell
it's not going to be in there at launch.
Boo.
Why do I just have visions of WildStar's fishing being dynamite? Like throwing dynamite and TNT and waiting for the dead fish to pop up that way. I don't see this playing out normally.
Here's how much I don't care about crafting. I'm actually looking for an elite creator, and I will just pay for their account. Just craft me out. And I'm gonna start with my guild, but I'll open it up to the public. I'll just buy you a year subscription. Actually, I'll give you month to month.
Get in on this, e-computer.
Yeah. I care so little about crafting that I am just going to full on pay with American greenbacks their entire account, and then I'll do just crafting my stuff so I can just.
This kind of seems like we're already violating EULAs, and the game hasn't even launched yet.
But hey.
So there's more than 14 zones. Didn't want to like give an exact answer or get it completely, and kind of understand why. You don't want the PR team and the marketing team down their throat, but that's kind of a big number, right? I mean, we've seen streams. The zones aren't exactly tiny, and 14 is a pretty decent number, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds like quite a healthy number, honestly.
And from what we've seen from 1 to 15, the zones are huge, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're nothing to sneeze at. Your camera froze in the best spot, Mark.
Did it freeze again?
Yeah, it froze again. It's the best. He's like, it's the greatest zone, man.
That's fine now.
Open beta. I know everybody in chat just perked up. All the ears went up. Open beta soonish. Yeah. Which probably means a long time from now.
Yeah.
Not really a surprise, though, right? Given that you guys are already kind of thinking this is going to be a late this year, Q3 type release. I don't think.
Hey! I didn't.
Well, yeah,
to that.
you're still you're going with the ridiculous. I think.
I'm saying fall at the soonest. I wouldn't.
At the soonest. Mark's like, this bitch ain't coming until 2016 now.
I think that if we see it in time for Christmas this year, we'll be doing good.
No, are you serious? Is that honestly where you're feeling right now, that Christmas might be lucky?
But I think in the fall to the winter, but I don't say it because I'm like, oh, the game's in trouble. What I think rather is I think they're just going to be smart to let ESO or TISO or whatever, Elder Scrolls Online, blow their wad. I think they're going to just let that hype train, do.
So you wait a month after ESO comes out.
Well, I mean, the typical MMO has, all your hardcore are gone in a month unless it's as good as WoW, which nothing's ever going to be like that.
Nothing's ever that good. Nothing's ever that good.
Correct. And that's the reason why I'm saying. But the point is so the hardcore are out in the first month of any MMO since WoW. And within the next quarter, the next month, second month 2 or month 3, within that is when, your active games, like the folks that are in chat now, and some of those are the elite, start trickling out. And then you're going to just have people who are just looking at it as another Elder Scrolls game, right? So they're going to have a large amount of. So I think they're just sitting back. This is Mark Taylor's opinion. They're just sitting back and they're going to let that happen. Meanwhile, they're going to just finish making sure that their game is as good as it can be. They're going to finish the Elder game. They're going to finish War Plots, and they're just going to keep just polishing the crap out of it. And then right when it looks like things are going to go free play with ESO, boom, I see that come out. Because that's what WoW does.
What? No way! You heard it here first, gang. You're gonna be Mark is now letting you know that you'll be able to buy this for your grandkids for Christmas. That's when the game will finally make it. Back to open beta, Farhan. Are we gonna see like weekends? I mean, that's kind of the trend in the industry right now, is those open beta weekends or even closed beta weekends that we let tons of people in. Is that what we can expect, or is it gonna be like an open beta? Here's 2 weeks, play the hell out of it, and we'll see you at launch type deal?
Honestly, I would expect something more along the lines of the beta weekends, just because that's the best way to build a lot of hype but not get people to burn out too much on the game, except for the people covering the games. They get burned out on those weekends.
Right.
But
I mean, that was a big deal. Like with the one that I remember it being huge with was Rift. Not only media, but players were burnt out with it by the time the game actually launched, because they were in the beta for so long, in the open beta for so long, that when it came out, it was like, oh, shit, I got to do 0 through 40 again just to get back to where I had farmed up to.
Right. And that's why I would expect something more along the lines of like an early access kind of thing, and maybe like 1 or 2 beta weekends and then an early access instead of like a more traditional open beta.
So here's what one of the community managers who shall remain and Nameless told me from Carbine is that they didn't know if they were going to even do an open beta at all, because
What?
studies open betas normally don't garner any benefit to the game. It's normally the closed beta where people are actually trying to test to try to find fault with the game. Normally, the open beta testers are just cruising the mall, playing a game, and then maybe deciding if they're going to play, for a couple months before they go back to WoW. So the thing is I think that Farhan's right. I think they're going to do a very small or short open beta, a couple weeks, maybe a month at max, right? And get the information they need. And what they're going to do with that open beta is they're not going to be testing the game at that point. They're going to be stress testing their infrastructure to see if it can handle the load. The game is going to be cooked by that point, right?
Yeah.
Everything that's going to launch. So they're just going to be saying, hey, does DNS crap? Do the load balancers crap? Can the switch handle the load? Can we distribute the load, across the images of the VMs, or however they're architecting it? That's what they're going to be doing. And as long as that, is successful or fails, or they get, figure out what they need to be, that's what they're going to be garnering as a success metric. They're not going to be going, oh, thank you, 100 million users who've logged in. We now know that the third quest in this map sucks.
We have just found out starting quests are broken.
Yeah.
Nobody noticed for the 6 months of closed beta.
Yeah.
Speaking of the beginning of the game, jumping to the end of the game, dear God, don't call it end game, right? That's not this is Elder Game. Elder Game. Like, get it through your heads now, gang. It's Elder Game, because the game doesn't end at level cap. But we're all going to call it end game, right? Because Elder Game just sounds really dumb, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. I was hoping I was not alone.
Sometimes I say Elder Game by accident. It's just the Carbine marketing team is...
Although, to be completely
they
honest...
have brainwashed Farhan. He now believes in Elder Game.
Although when I go to E3 or I do an interview with the developers, I always call it Elder Games. I sound like I'm cool.
Course. Yeah, you're like, yeah, it's totally. You guys are doing a great job with that Elder Game. It's end game, but you're doing a really, really good job. Elder Game's looking sweet. So Guild Umbra, we talked about it. Big guild. We're getting the guild achievements and perks probably in the next couple of weeks here.
It's actually today.
Well, what?
They dropped the thing.
What?
Guild achievements, guild perks.
So thumbs up, thumbs down. Are we liking them? Are we not? Do you generally like these with a big guild? I know I'm a fan of stupid things like these, even if they don't give rewards.
I love it. Even before they dropped what they had, well, I guess we can, I won't talk about it right now, but they've got more in beta than I have seen in the last 5 years, other than WoW, for mature MMOs that have launched, So, and I'm talking about most of the things that people know about. I mean, Guild Wars 2 probably came a very second close. But yeah, they've got great things. They've got, in-game taxation already. They've got guild banks. They've got guild perks that you can utilize reputation to pay for. It's amazing, and it's not even out yet. So there's still things that, like Farhan said, that I got to go in there and start checking from 1 to 15. and test out. But the point is they've put the time in, they've listened to the communities, they know what people want from all the other games that are out, and they're giving it to you up front, because nowadays in modern MMOs, if you don't have things like guild taxation, if you don't have things like guild banks, those two things alone, your game has almost failed from a guild management standpoint from big guilds, because now it's a nightmare to organize assets, right?
Well, one thing that I actually really like that they dropped in this thing, and I want to mention it because they just gave this drop today, is that they were talking about how you earn the perks and sort of the benefits of being in a guild versus like a lot of times in say World of Warcraft or I guess even XIV, maybe with the free companies. You can tell me if this is true, Mike. Is it true that in XIV, because in World of Warcraft, a lot of times you feel pressure to join one of those big guilds that already has all those perks and things rolling already, just because you don't want to, join like a new guild that's sort of slowly starting to work on that
Right.
kind of stuff, because you could have just already joined somebody who already had all of that going.
Yeah, in XIV, no, the pressure to join a big guild isn't there yet because it's easy to rank up as a guild right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it's still relatively new, right? 4 or 5 months, so not yet.
Not yet. So, but
And the
in World of
rewards aren't
Warcraft,
all
it's-
that super. It's X percentage bonus for 24 hours on this. It's not huge. Like World of Warcraft, there is a big difference between the level 24 guild bonuses and the level 2. In XIV, 8 and 2 doesn't have that big of a difference. It's a couple percent.
So what WildStar is sort of trying to do, what Carbine are with their system and what they're sort of describing in this post, is that even a small guild should be able to be pretty successful at earning a lot of these things, versus just like a crazy Zerg guild that just had hundreds and hundreds of people that they just invite indiscriminately and they don't actually play together, because you don't actually earn the influence, like the currency that you use to buy these perks and to enable these things, unless you're actually playing together as a group. So it's not like World of Warcraft where you're just leveling, you're doing quests, and you're like leveling up your guild and you're fine. You actually have to, as a group up and then do those things. And so a small guild that actually is consistently playing together would level up and get all these perks and things way quicker than a Zerg guild that just mass invites and they don't actually play with each other. Their whole purpose of existence is just to have like the little tag and no interaction really within those things. Like a more cohesive guild that actually plays together is actually going to do much better, and I actually really like that in WildStar.
We're going to jump ahead here to the old PvE endgame in the dungeons and the raids, but outside of that, we've kind of talked about, you guys on previous shows, dungeons and raids and 40-mans and telegraphs and the jump dodge. Good God, that was probably the best conversation that I saw. But before we do, I want to tell you a little bit about a sponsor of ours that helps make UDSP and all the shows on Gamebreaker possible, and that's Audible.com. If you don't know about Audible, it's a free audio downloading service to get you books on the go. Reading is old school. Well, now we listen to the books. So head on over. We're going to give you 30 days free and give you one free book, and then you can feel free to look at... We don't have WildStar books yet, obviously, but I'm pretty sure those will be coming, especially with the comic book stuff, right? We can expect to see some novels at some point. But let's take a look. If we're into the fantasy, let's go with the R.A. Salvatore books and see what we can get here. Got a ton of things. So you want to check out some high fantasy, don't have time. Big fan of using this service when I'm driving. I do a lot of driving from Pennsylvania to New York for my day job, and this helps kill anywhere from the 5 to 13 hour drive I'll usually be making. So check it out. You can have 30 free days just by going to the URL audible.com/Gamebreaker. Get yourself one free book. Check out the service. I know you're going to love it. I've had it for about 2 to 3 years now. Most of you would know Gary Gannon's had it for, I think, since they were invented. I mean, Gary might have invented Audible, now that I think about it.
He was like giving the idea. He's like, you guys need to do this.
He's like, a backer.
Go ahead and do the. Yeah, he supported the Audible Kickstarter. That's not true. Audible did not have a Kickstarter. But yeah, so Gary's had it for about ever and loves it as well. He'll swear by it. Take a look. Enjoy your free book. They help make it possible, so big thank you to Audible for helping us make these shows for all of you that are sitting there watching. So when it comes to endgame content for PvE players outside of dungeons and raids, we did get a little bit of interesting info this week. One, new zones are going to come online pretty regularly. That's gotta add a lot to the game, right? We're gonna see these pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised to hear about this, that they would actually be loading up whole new zones regularly. And I guess it sort of depends on how regularly is.
Yeah, regularly, once every 4 years. Congratulations. Well, they didn't lie.
Exactly. But
what about, and that's outside of expansions, right? That's not part of
I
expansions.
think that's the
We're talking like
implication.
Guild Wars 2 kind of updates. Maybe not
Right.
that often. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
If it was like Living Story, yes.
Yeah.
No. It's not going to be that often.
Oh, come on. That's the way I want my WildStar now. That's it. That's the way I want that. Not only that, the areas are basically built for large groups to run around at max level, an elder game, and do public quests and events, which is kind of awesome, right? An alternative to dungeons and raids to, they take a bit of time. You're usually going to do a raid for 3 hours, or a dungeon's going to take you 45 minutes. You want to get in and fart around for 20 minutes. This sounds like a nice alternative, right, Mark?
Hell yeah. It's one of those things, though, that, you have to have normally people in the zone that let you know that something like that's kicking off. And when it happens, that's when you send, the email out, or the thing out, not on a link shell, but on a circle, or to your guild, and you're like, hey, X, Y, and Z is going off. Does anybody want to do it? And then you'll just see people start coming across the zone to go, execute.
Now, they said there was a third item here, but the third item says that the events in those areas will scale with big group quests and the number of people are there. So that's kind of part of number 2, isn't it? That's 2 features, not 3. That's 2. So what's the third?
I think that the implication would be like maybe there would be a difference between like a public quest kind of thing and maybe something more like a world boss or something like that. So maybe they have like 2 different kinds of these big public event kind of things that you'd be doing.
Farhan's a Carbine apologist.
It's so
I wanted 3 bullet points. So to get there, though, we're still hearing about 150 to 200 hours to end game, and that's I had a chance to do an interview with Jeremy back in May, and that was the number back then too. It was like 210 hours to get the level cap. That's a lot of time. Historically, companies have never really been good at estimating this number.
I would argue that number is probably accurate relative to what I've seen from 1 to 15, and that's really if you're burning it up, because this game is not like most MMOs where you can just be at max level in a day or 2. It takes a while to level on. It gets better and faster if you have a group, but I mean, it's kind of like old EverQuest. Remember EQ, the original, how like it took a while to level? That's kind of how this game is, in a good way. You know what I mean?
So big props, guys, over at MMORPG and Stefan Frost for taking the time. There was a ton of questions. I know we went over a lot, but if you haven't checked it out, please do. There's a ton more that we did not have time to get into. It would have been a 7-hour show. Real quick, before we wrap it up, we did get to see the Stalker Livestream this week, finally, after it got bounced around a little bit. Let's just go through, get your guys' opinions. Thumbs up, thumbs down. To me, it was a little suspicious that the Stalker did as well as it did, but maybe I'm not the PvP guy. Farhan, thumbs up, thumbs down. What'd you think?
I thought it was good. The tanking, I am a little bit suspicious that maybe they sort of waited till now to do it because it sort of coincided well with a new patch that just dropped. That sort of Stalker tanking stance is suddenly a lot more solid. But hey,
how does he know that?
Good, as long as it's working. I don't.
He
really
read it on a forum somewhere, Mark. It was.
But the PvP thing was actually way more engaging than I thought it was going to be. Just because, like, I thought it was just gonna be like Frost just smashing Pappy over the head over and over and over again. But then, like they sort of mixed it up with the 2v2 and the 3v3 with the arena match, which was really exciting that we finally got to see arena. So I thought it was great. If you haven't seen it and you want to at least see what arena looks like, then
and that was a nice surprise.
I mean, one last thing to add to that though is it's no wonder that the Stalker is going to kick your ass against a Clothy at close range. That's what he's supposed to do.
That's their job.
So when everyone was going, "Oh my God, he's so OP," yeah, he's stealth. He's a rogue class, and he's all on your jock. When you're PvPing, you have a bazillion bird throwers, espers, ears that are sitting there triangulating you. So being a Stalker does not make you feel OP when you're PvPing. I'm just gonna say, because I've played a Stalker a number of times against opposing teams that got like 3 espers and 3 gun spell slingers, and you're just sitting there going, I can't catch a break. So the game, for where it is very well balanced. When you catch a person slipping, you need to kill them. But other than that, you're going to have to take your time. So people who are worrying that this class is OP, it is not OP. It's good where it needs to fight.
Yeah. Now, honestly, I think though that despite it being the Stalker live stream and the Frost versus Pappy match, I think that the most impressive thing that I saw in that live stream was actually Mark, the medic class designer, I guess also warrior, doing the 2v1 basically at the for like forever, just surviving for forever. Like
Right.
I honestly think that if Chris Lynch wasn't playing a healing Esper, at that point he would have 2v1 them because he was just doing so well. So yeah, he stole the show for me.
Mr. Farhan Siddiqui. You can follow him on the Twitters at, what is it, at Unindel? UNINDEL. Follow him over there for more WildStar info.
Oh, can I plug
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go to WildStar fans. Go check out the Planet Nexus podcast because I was a guest this week. So check it out.
Nice, definitely go check
Shameless plug.
it out. Was it shameless? He asked. Mr. Mark Taylor, you can follow him on the Twitters at @Guildumbra. Always posting great stuff there. I am obviously not Gary Gannon. I am Magic Man, aka Mike Byrne. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan, MAGICKMANN1. Of course, follow Gamebreaker TV for more Unicorn Duck Shadow Puppet, WildStar, and all MMO games. Until next time, stay safe, gang, and we'll see you out on the servers.
Peace.